This is the Doctor, President-elect of the High Council of Time Lords.
I am definitely a madman with a box.
Anyone for jelly, baby?
I'm the Doctor. I'm 904 years old. I'm from the planet Gallifrey in the constellation of Castabras.
Hey Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
And my name's Adam.
And we're at episode 73.
Woohoo!
Hope you guys have had a fantastic week. And you've found something Doctor Who-ish to do. Whether that's go to a local convention or stick on some Doctor Who, classic or new. Take your pick. We've been doing some classic stuff mainly. Well, I have anyway. I know we're going to be reviewing a newer Doctor Who this week, but it's very much a classic vibe for the Gary household the last couple of weeks.
What have you been up to then?
Well, I've just been really, I don't know, I've just got, because normally when Doctor Who finishes on TV, I'll do like a mix. I'll just grab like a Tennant episode and then a Capaldi one that was on a year or so ago, and then I'll stick on maybe a couple of classics and go like that. But for some reason I've just been really picking out all the classics and going through them, and I'm you guys have probably seen on Facebook the last couple of weeks, but really getting into McCoy as well.
Yeah,
my love and is still growing and still there for McCoy. I just can't get enough of him at the moment. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I'm glad. It must be nearly time for you to revisit Remembrance again.
Well, funny
Surely.
you say that. Funny you say that. I watched a couple of McCoys this week. Night before last, I watched Ghostlight.
Yeah,
which is a real creepy, strange one.
it is. Yeah.
And I also did watch Remembrance of the Daleks.
You watched it again,
I did watch it again, yes.
and did your opinion of it go up?
Well, I will tell you now that this is my thought on it is...
Drum roll.
You'll have to wait until we do it again on the podcast.
Oh no!
You guys will have to wait. I'm sure. I'm hoping that you're okay with that, mate. That we'll revisit it at some point later on this year.
Yes, I'd love to revisit, because it's one of the first early podcasts that we did together, wasn't it? Because it's one of my favourite stories, and at the time you watched it and was a bit bewildered why it was so high in my opinion, because you just didn't get it, did you? You thought it was a bit...
Yes.
Naff.
Yes, I remember. Yeah, I remember getting quite a lot of flack for it as well, because not just Seventh Doctor fans, but I remember getting a lot of stick from just Who fans in general, because it is regarded as a pretty good Dalek story as well as a good Seventh Doctor story. So I remember getting a lot of stick for that. But yes, we shall wait and see if we because we have got a bit of a plan in for this year of the stuff that we want to do, but it's fairly open for middle and back half of the year, so we might stick it in there and revisit and do like retro review version 2.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm definitely up for doing that, because I love Remembrance, and I've watched it quite a few times, but I'm always up for watching it again, especially if it means because it seems like something has suddenly clicked with you with McCoy, because I think you struggled with him for a bit, didn't you? But something's obviously just clicked somewhere along the line, which I'm really pleased about, because I love the McCoy era. So I'm glad that you're getting into it.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what it was either. I really can't explain it. It was just one. It was a few months back now. I honestly can't tell you. It's I think I saw something online. No, I'll tell you what it was, mate. It was when we went to the signing spectacular over in Chiswick.
Oh yeah.
Was that in October, November?
Oh gosh,
October, I think. Yeah. And I remember like queuing up to get our stuff signed and have a photo with him. And I just had this feeling. I don't know what it was. I just thought, yeah, he's a cool guy. I like Sylve. And then I remember when I got home after that day of that convention and stuck on. I can't remember what it was now. It was some McCoy story I stuck on and started watching.
Fenric was it or something?
Fenric could have been, yeah. And I thought, yeah. I think this is going to grow on me, and it's just gone from there, really. So, yes, really into the McCoy stuff at the moment.
I do get it though, because I think, I mean, looking back of watching it when it first went out, I think there are stories that I sort of was maybe cringed at a bit at the time or didn't really get into, and now I absolutely love them. I think there's a real charm to the McCoy era, so I do get it. I think you've sort of gone through your natural progression of seeing the sort of faults that are in there, and then you sort of get past that and realise actually there's some really good stuff in there. So yeah, that's good.
It's a good thing. It's like an evolution, if you like, as you're because not everybody has. I'm pretty certain when I say this, and you guys could correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty certain out of all 12 or 13 doctors, there's going to be at least one doctor that you don't really lean on to. Like if you're just bored one night and you want to watch, an episode of Who, a classic one that is, I'm sure for everybody, there's at least one doctor that you don't really reach to. You've got your favourites, and then ones that you're not that you dislike a certain doctor, but you just don't really, you're not too keen on their stuff. So Sylve was mine for a while. So yeah, it's just taken a bit of a 180 really, and
See, mine for me that would be Colin. You see, I very rarely dip into the Colin Baker era because Guy. It's actually not because of Colin. It's just his stories.
Right.
They're quite dark and bleak, a lot of them, and I have to be in the right mood for them. But it's strange because, like you said, it's not that I don't like Colin's Doctor, because I do. But whenever I go to put one on, I very rarely sort of dip towards the Sixth Doctor era. But it's strange because after we reviewed Revelation last week, I really, really wanted to watch more of Colin, and so it's I think you just have to be in the mood for it. I think. Yeah,
it's the magic of Doctor Who. Yeah. Can turn your emotions on the flip of a coin.
I just hope all this good isn't undone, because we have penciled in Delta and the Bannermen on our schedule and coming up in the future. I just hope it doesn't undo all the good. I don't think it will, actually. I don't think it will, but it's one of the earlier McCoys, so it has potential to do damage, possibly. Okay. But you might love it.
Yeah.
Looking forward to doing that one.
Yeah. Other than that, did sort out the old shelf or shelves.
So
everything is looking neat and organised, and fairly neat.
Yeah, it looks good. I saw the picture. Yeah, very nice.
The Pop Funkos are out the box.
Yes, they're out. They're free.
They're unboxed, mate. I'm sure this is going to tear people right down the middle with Pop Funkos, but so many people keep them in the boxes. Some other people unbox them, don't care. I thought, nah, they look way too good to keep in the box.
They do look really cool on your shelf like that, all lined up. I think, they deserve to be out, I think.
And just quickly, I'm still trying to hunt down the 10th Doctor exclusive regeneration when he's in the 9th Doctor's clothes.
Yeah.
I still can't find that anywhere. I know that it must be knocking around at some US stores and stuff, but Forbidden Planet .com and .co.uk still haven't got it anywhere, and some other Pop Funko websites, they don't have it. So if you guys find it anywhere or know where that is, please let us know.
Yeah, I haven't seen that pop up on any of the sites yet.
Yeah.
I bet you saw the one that came up just a couple of days ago, which is a US exclusive, but man, am I hoping it finds its way over, which is the K9 Funko Pop.
Oh, just your little face.
Doesn't he look so cool, though? Doesn't he look so good?
He does look very good, actually.
I've got to get one.
Yeah.
Got to get one.
Yeah, he does look really cool. As soon as I saw it, because I think somebody else threw it up on Twitter for us, didn't they? And said, I bet Adam will absolutely love this.
I do.
And I could just picture your face in my mind, just lit up like it's Christmas.
Yeah, no, I loved it. When I saw it, I was like, oh, I saw there was an exclusive to the US as well, and I was like, no, because a lot of them are, but they do tend to find their way overs, don't they? So yes. I'm sure he'll appear somewhere. I'm going to have to get one, because I don't want to pay some silly price on eBay, because some of them do. But yeah, he looks really good. He'd look great on the shelf.
Oh yeah, yep.
Next to the 4th Doctor one, which is cool.
Yeah. You been up to anything else Who-wise, buddy? Or anything
Who-wise? Yeah, I've been listening to a bit of the River Dong. River Dong. The song.
The River Dong. That's a river somewhere.
Yeah, that's the bootleg version of the River Song Diaries by Big Finish. Yeah, I've listened to the first 2 stories in that set. It's got 4 stories in it, and I've listened to the first 2 this week. I'm a bit disappointed in it, actually. It's really not. I don't know, because I've been really quite looking forward to this. I mean, I like River Song. I'm not her biggest fan, but I don't dislike her. I think she's an interesting character. So, I was kind of looking forward to it. I'd heard fairly good things about it, but I've listened to the first 2 and they haven't really done it for me so far. So I'm hoping it gets better, because they're not bad. I mean, they're fun, listenable, nothing wrong with them. But, like I listened to The War Doctor the last couple of weeks, and that really, really was awesome. I loved it. So maybe maybe following on from that, it just is a bit different. But she's good on it, though. Alex Kingdoms actually works really well on audio, River Song.
You just
She's
weren't
actually quite
impressed
good
overall.
on audio.
You just weren't impressed, overall with the story.
Just the first 2 stories are a bit meh. Yeah, nothing wrong with them. They're still okay, but I don't know, bit drab. The first one I thought, well, it's the first one, and it probably just needs to sort of get going, and because there's still 3 to go. And then the second one, I would say, is slightly better. But yeah, I don't know. It didn't sort of set my world alight that I was hoping it would. But yeah, still good. I mean, Big Finish are always good anyway. There's always something to enjoy in there. But, yeah, I don't know. Still got 2 to go, so I'm hoping the rest of the set's good, because McGann's in it as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep thinking, when's he going to come in? Because I'm really looking forward to hearing River with McGann's Doctor. So yeah, I don't know which. I really hope he doesn't just come in right at the last second of the last story. That'd be so annoying.
Yeah,
because I keep thinking, when's McGann coming into it? So yeah, so I'm hoping the rest of the set's better.
The Diary of River Song.
Yeah,
not great so far.
It's just good. It's just nothing amazing so far. Yeah,
you guys,
it's good.
You guys can't see us on Skype, but this is my surprised face.
I can see it.
Still waiting for The Last Adventure to come down in price.
Yeah,
what's going on with that? Desperate to pick that one up. I want, I want it on the shelf, because I'm really interested in the story as well. I know you've listened to it at least a couple of times. Is that right? You've listened to it a couple of times already.
I listened to it twice. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm so intrigued about that particular story with that Doctor. So he gets a proper, it's his regeneration story, isn't it?
Yes,
it's his proper last thing. Yeah. But it's still £45. I just can't spend it. Not at the moment anyway. I'm skint after Christmas, but yeah. So please, Big Finish, please.
Please reduce it. It got a lot of good feedback, that story, and I must admit I really enjoyed it. I was really surprised to be talking to a Doctor Who fan just a couple of days ago that actually was really unimpressed with the send-off. It's like, it's a rubbish rubbish regeneration story, and I really, I was like, I think that's the first bad comment I've heard, because I think it's really good. I love what they did, certainly better than what we had on the TV screen anyway.
With a dodgy
wig,
the dodgy wig and stuff. Yeah. Is that the one where the TARDIS lands out of a rainbow?
That's the one.
Yes. What was it? Time of the Rani. Yeah.
Strange rainbow landing, which I don't believe we've ever seen before or since.
Yes, it was a unique landing, that one.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever landed our TARDIS on a rainbow to do the news.
No. I think it's a very special setting, I think.
Yeah. Should we try it though?
Yeah, let's try it.
We've had some rain this morning and the sun is out. Let's give it a go. See if we can land it on a rainbow.
On a rainbow.
First up this week in the Doctor Who news. This year we're going to be treated, aren't we, to the spin-off show, Class.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we have some production news, really. So this was going to be a solely BBC Wales produced programme, just like the regular Doctor Who show. There's been a slight change of plan. The production is now going to be jointly shared with BBC America.
Oh, right. Okay.
So they're going to be co-producing the show, which is going to be 8 parts coming in the autumn. There's no set date yet of when it's going to go out, but that's very close to when the actual Doctor Who show will be going out as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it would be, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Because I think that's going to be going out nearer Christmas, isn't it? It must be this year.
I assume so.
It must be that back end of the year. So, but anyway, so BBC America have also confirmed that they've commissioned a new original scripted series based on the Dirk Gently books.
Oh, Douglas Adams.
Yes.
Yeah.
Apparently these books were inspired by the unfinished story Sharda,
Oh, right. Okay.
which was meant to go out in, when was it? 1980, it says.
Is it? Oh, I
Yeah.
was thinking it's the 70s. Yeah, it probably was, yeah.
Yeah, but wasn't completed due to a BBC strike. There's a shock.
Yes.
So yeah, BBC America, they're actually putting their fingers into more pies, I think is the correct term. So I'm pretty sure this won't affect how the how Class was going to be produced and created anyway. But yeah,
doubt
we
it.
shall see.
I'm wondering if we'll get, like, 'cause there's no cast or anything announced for this yet. Do you think we'll get Courtney? We're going to see Courtney again? Or do you think it'll just be a whole new thing, but set in Coal Hill?
Yeah, I think it'll be a completely new thing. Yeah.
I wonder if Capaldi will make any sort of cameo in that, whether, just to sort of draw people in, a bit like in the Sarah Jane Adventures, they would occasionally get like one of the doctors in just to sort of, get them in there and, properly make it canon and stuff. I just wonder if he'll do a little bit for it.
Maybe it'd be good if he did. I mean, to be honest with you, mate, I'm still in two minds about this one. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is going to be aimed at the younger age range of Who fans. But you never know.
I'm getting a
could
sort
be
of
good.
Alien versus Wizards vibe from it myself.
RTD kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yes, possibly.
Because I would love to see like Ian Chesterton wandering through those school corridors, but I don't think we're going to get to see it. I'd be very surprised. But
Yeah.
it's starting to take shape. We'll see. I do remember. I'm sure you do, when it was announced on Twitter and it all kicked off. And poor old Patrick Ness, the writer, must have been thinking, "I'm not sure I want to do this anymore." Because that was more to do with the timing of the BBC announcement, I think. But yeah. But now it's sort of getting a bit more real and stuff. Getting a little bit more intrigued by it. I won't lie, I'm not overly enthusiastic by it, but it's something, isn't it? Something to think, give it a go.
Yeah, and so that's autumn. So I think we're not going to get any Doctor Who related stuff until the back end of the year, it looks like. So we've got quite a while before we see any official Doctor Who stuff on our screens, but there we go.
There we go. Okay, well, in other news, we will have a Doctor back on the screen in the not too distant future, because the 7th Doctor, Sylvester McCoy, is going to be starring in a new BBC Two travel documentary series called The Real Marigold Hotel. This actually sounds really quite good.
It does,
actually.
yeah.
Does it say when it's going to air? I think it's just
Late this month, yeah.
Oh, it's actually sooner than I thought. It's late January. Brilliant.
Yes.
So yeah, basically they're going to pop old Sylvester and a group of other celebrities, including Marion Margles. She's funny. Have you ever seen her?
Yes.
She's bonkers, isn't she?
Yeah.
Marion Margles. Wayne Sleep, Roy Walker. Roy Walker, that's the catchphrase guy, isn't it?
Yes.
Roy Walker. Wow.
Yeah, Roy Walker. Yeah, the Irish guy.
We've got
Yep.
Bobby George, the dance champion. Jan Leeming from the news. So there's a bunch of celebrities. They're all going to be going to the capital state in northern India. Basically setting up home, and it's a kind of it's a sort of retirement thing, isn't it? They're going to be seeing if it would be a good place to go out and retire rather than comparing it to the UK.
That's right.
So
yes.
I think they're just going to be travelling around, since they're going to meet some royal family members while they're out there and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It sounds pretty good fun.
It does, yeah. And they were there for quite a few weeks as well. How many weeks were there? I think it was like 6 weeks or something like that. It was quite a long time.
Yeah, we're looking at what they did. I mean, they went to all sort of festivals and things like that, and yeah, it's going to. Does it say how many parts this series is, or is it a one-off?
No, it is a series.
It is a series,
And it's starting. Yeah, it must be in a couple of weeks' time.
Right.
But yeah, it does it really good, and I'm really looking forward because old Sylve, he's just bonkers himself, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
There's a short interview with him as well, and they said, what was your role within the group? And his answer was to raise a smile and play the spoons. So you can imagine that he'll be pulling out all the tricks that all the stuff that you see him do at conventions and all that stuff. I can imagine that. I can actually imagine that they'll be pretty miffed with him after spending that amount of time, like every single day with him.
Yeah.
But no, and it's also not related to the actual film that went out, because I think the series is based on the idea and the concept of like senior citizens just, buggering off for however many weeks on a holiday. So although it's called the Real Marigold Hotel, it's not linked with the film in any way. It's just the same concept and idea. Yeah. But yes, I'm looking forward to seeing Sylve in this.
Yeah, I think it'll be really good. Yeah, so I'm glad it's set to air late January, which is good because I hadn't seen that. I thought it was still in production actually. So I'll be looking out for that. So it's actually just called the Real Marigold Hotel, isn't it? That's the name of it.
That's the name, yeah, and it's going out on BBC Two.
BBC Two.
Yes.
Excellent. There was just one other thing we were going to pick up on the news, which was last week we talked about this big announcement from Big Finish, didn't we? And we kept checking all the way through the podcast to see if it was announced. And as soon as we stopped recording, it was announced. And it was quite a good announcement, actually. It's basically they're going to be bringing out a CD called, well, actually, I think it's going to be a trilogy, isn't it? Called The Two Doctors. No, not The Two Doctors, The Two Masters.
The Two Masters, yeah. Yeah,
The Two Masters. So it's Geoffrey Beavis and Alex McQueen as The Two Masters. I'm just going to check if it's a trilogy because I think it was. But they're both brilliant, and I love this idea, and apparently it's something that they've wanted to do for quite some time. So yeah, it is a trilogy, beginning with Doctor Who and You Will Obey Me is the first title, which sounds really good.
Yeah.
Vampire of the Mind is the second one, written by Justin Richards. And the final part in the saga is just called The Two Masters. So cool. That's going to be really good. And Sylvester McCoy is going to be in that as well. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to those. These are coming out. When are these coming out?
At some point this year, isn't it? Later
yes,
this year?
Yes, it is, yeah. Yep. Yeah, I've got a feeling it's March, April time. I'm not too sure. But, yeah, it'd be good. It's strange because I've met both Geoffrey Beavers and Alex McQueen. And they're two really, really nice guys. And it's strange how these nice people always end up playing baddies. You know what I mean? You sort of these people who are villains very often when you meet them. They're actually the nicest people in real life. So,
do you know what though? With Alex McQueen,
yeah, I
just can't. Even when he plays a bad character on Big Finish or on anything on TV,
yeah,
I can. Whenever I picture his face, I just cannot help but laugh because he's one of these guys where he's not like he's not like a typical comedian or comedy actor per se, but the roles that he takes on are just, he plays them so well and so funny. He's so deadpan and dry. Even when he's playing a bad guy, I just cannot help but laugh. He was really funny in the Peter Capaldi, the comedy, The Thick of It, that political.
Oh right, I've never watched that. Yeah.
Oh man, you're missing out. It's you'll never hear somebody swear as much as Peter Capaldi in that program. But Alex McQueen's in it, and he's really funny.
Yeah, I know a lot of people say it's good. I really must check that out. Actually,
yeah, it's good. So yeah, I mean, it's great because he was in was he the Master in Dark Eyes?
Yes, he is. Yeah,
yeah, he was very good actually. But yes, if you can get past his if you can get past not picturing his face and laughing, this is going to be really good, I think.
I thought you were going to say you always imagine him as because he's in the In-Betweeners as is it Neil's dad? No, it's not Neil's dad, is it?
It's one of their dads. Who's
one of their dads. Yeah, I thought that's what you were going to say.
And he's always getting abuse from Jay's dad.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so he is a funny guy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's cool. I gotta say these. So the first one's out in April.
Yeah.
Then March. Then June. So yeah, that's a good trilogy. I'll definitely be getting those. I think that's a really good, awesome idea to have the two of them paired up. I'm not sure how it's going to work. It's be interesting. So yeah. So that was the big announcement.
Yeah, and I think that's going to do for news.
Yes.
Adam, my good fellow.
Hello there.
Please do tell what we're doing this week.
This week, I was trying to think of the name of the place, and I can't find it in my notes. But yeah, this week we're doing the 11th Doctor story, The God Complex.
Whoa! That was We surrender.
No, it's okay. We're not.
We surrender.
We're nice.
She threatened me with a chairlift.
Who are you?
Oh, God, we're back in reception.
We surrender.
I've never been threatened with a cello before. No, hang on, I tell a lie.
Did you just say it's okay, we're nice? Okay, I need everyone to shut up now!
Rita, be careful, yeah?
Their pupils are dilated. They are surprised as we are. Besides which, if it's a trick, it'll tell us something.
Oh, you're good. Oh, she's good. Amy, with regret, you're fired.
What?
I'm kidding.
The rooms have things in them.
There's a room here for everyone, Doctor. Even you. We're gonna catch ourselves a monster. Here comes the candle to light you to bed. Here comes a chopper to chop off your head. Chop, 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 chop.
Yes.
That theme.
The God Complex. 2011.
Series
September.
6.
Yeah.
Was it? Series 6, yeah.
Series 6, yep. Series 6. That was one of the... Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of Series 6 overall.
It's a funny one, isn't it? It's not that accessible. A lot of the stories are a bit odd.
A bit up and down. So, what do we think of this one, though? So, this is one of those nice isolated stories. Mm-hmm. Very little in the way of larger story arc. So you can probably, even if you're not into Who, you can probably watch this one fairly easily.
Yeah.
There's nothing... Although there's a couple of little bits in there, it's fairly accessible. This one on its own.
Yeah, it's fairly standalone.
Yeah. And it's just one of those really cool kind of detective figuring stuff out kind of story. Because the Doctor and Amy and Rory are on their way to somewhere, and when they get plonked into this, what turns out to be a prison, it actually looks like a very well done 80s hotel.
Yes, stayed in a few of those.
Yes, and it's one of those stories where we've seen a million times before on Who, where they're plonked into this environment, have no clue why they're there or what's going on, so they have to figure it all out, which is very cool. Straight away, or pretty much straight away, we're introduced to the supporting cast.
Yeah.
There's no big reveal for those guys or anything. We just hit the ground running with them. And situation is they don't know why they're there either. All they do know is that people are getting picked off by a Minotaur, and they all have a room for them, which inside each room contains their deepest fears. Yeah, I would say. And yes, and so one by one, as they slowly give in to those fears, the Minotaur, which senses this, comes out, and they are no more.
Yes,
pretty much. Yes, and it's down to the Doctor really to figure out why this is happening. So, yes, the God Complex. Overall, pretty good. Pretty good, the story.
Yeah, it's a good. I think it's a good idea. Some really good ideas in there. Don't know. It feels a little bit half baked to me somehow.
Half baked.
I think it is good, but it sort of feels a bit unfulfilling. I find towards the end. Mm-hmm. I did enjoy it. I thought it is good. I love the idea of the rooms with all the fears in and all that. Everybody having their own room. I think it's a fantastic idea. I don't know. I wasn't blown away, but I think the thing is, I wanted to do this one because I remember thinking it was good, but couldn't remember anything about it, if that makes sense. And I definitely enjoyed rewatching this, and I did think there's some really great stuff going on in it. But I don't know, it just left me feeling a bit unsatisfied somehow. I like the fact it turns, it all turns out to be a simulator. I love that effect at the end. It's very Tron.
Tron, yeah, I was going to say that.
It's very Tron, isn't it? That room in the end. I don't know. I thought, there's a lot of good stuff in here, though. I think overall, I did enjoy it. I really want to know what's in door 11. I know we get told it's the crack, don't we? In Time of the Doctor,
Yeah.
we get told that's what he sees in the room, but that doesn't make any sense to me because he says who else.
Yes.
I'm just assuming it's the War Doctor, but I don't know. Do we ever get a real clear clarification on that?
Yes.
What's in the Doctor's room?
Yeah. So for those listeners that haven't seen this episode, or haven't seen it in a long time, just a refresher. Each room in this supposed hotel contains, like we said, the person's utmost fears, or something that they're very scared of, and the Doctor opens his door, doesn't it, which is suitably numbered 11.
Yeah.
And all we actually hear the TARDIS.
Oh yeah, we hear the cloister bell.
The bell of the TARDIS.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it is very weird because it was almost confirmed to us later, wasn't it, that it was the crack in the wall.
Yeah.
However, you can hear the TARDIS cloister bell, and there is a very big rumor, which is which makes more sense to me, which is that it's the War Doctor.
Yeah.
That would make more sense to me. Because at that point, before we got onto Day of the Doctor, or even before that, should I say, the Doctor was very, very, what's the word I'm looking for? Very fearful of the War Doctor.
Yeah, yeah.
So that makes more sense.
More sense.
Yeah,
yeah.
But
it does.
I think from a canon official point of view, it is meant to be the crack in the wall. So yes, and then we see some other really creepy things in those rooms as well. I must admit there was some little creepy bits in this episode.
It's very creepy at the start, isn't it? It's one thing that sort of struck me is actually it's quite scary. Actually, the first few minutes are pretty full on, and I love it. I think it's brilliant. Actually,
yeah, it's definitely got that The Shining.
Oh yes,
kind of vibe.
Yeah.
It's very old hotel, very creepy and scary. But then it's also got stuff in there that actually do genuinely freak people out. There's a clown sitting on the end of a bed in one room, which just I can imagine really.
What is it about clowns that are just freaky as hell?
It's Stephen King's It.
Yes,
has just made the entire world fearful of clowns. I'm sure of it. But yeah, so the clown is very creepy. What else is there? There's Weeping Angels.
That's one of the things I'd completely forgotten about, actually. When they went into the Weeping Angels, I forgot they were even in it. And it doesn't turn out to be, because we assume it's Amy's room, don't we? But it's not. It's actually, does it turn out to be Gibbis's room, that one? I don't know why he would be scared of the angels, but turns out not to be. Yeah, it turns out not to be Amy's room. But yeah, I'd forgotten the angels were in it completely.
Mm-hmm, me too. Because I must admit, it's been a long while. In fact, do you know what? I don't think I've actually watched this one. I mean, when I picked up the box set for Series 6, I watched it once as I was going through it, like a little mini marathon when I first got the box set. And I don't think I've watched it since then. And that's been a few years.
It comes back to what you were saying earlier, actually. It's not one of those stories that I sort of want to get, think, what do I watch? It's not one I feel like putting on.
Yeah.
Because it is quite a strange, the way it's directed and that, it's a lot of jump cuts and, like you said, all that. There's a lot of weird stuff going on, isn't there? It's not like a sort of fluid story that you can just sit and watch, although it's a fairly simple storyline. But it's not an easy sort of going watch, is it? It's quite sort of... it's quite scary, and then there's lots of talking in it. I mean, there are some scenes in it where they're very dialogue heavy.
Yes.
So it's a bit of a strange one overall, I think, in terms of that. It's not one I would sort of immediately go to put on. Mind you, there's not that many in Series 6, so I think I would. I think actually it's one of the better ones out of quite a mixed bag, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Support cast, yeah. Like I said, those guys get thrown on screen pretty early because the Doctor and Amy and Rory have like a little mini confrontation at the beginning.
Yeah.
We have that wonderful little line from the Doctor where, Amy, regrettably, you're fired.
Yeah, I love that.
She gets really humpy, and then he's like, I'm just kidding. And then he turns to her, he's like, call me. So I love that. So that scene is really cool. And I would probably say the natural ringleader of that little group is Rita.
Yes, yeah.
She seems to be the most clued up, not what's happening, because I think she's as confused as everybody else, but she seems to have more of a sensible handle on handling things. If that makes sense.
What's going on? Yeah.
With handles, and which I think is why the Doctor's drawn to her quite quickly, because she has that similar mentality to the Doctor, where even when they're thrown into a situation where it's potentially very bad, but it's still figuring stuff out, she seems to be the level-headed, thinking stuff through.
Yeah,
which is what the Doctor does.
That's why the Doctor likes her, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Amara Karen, I thought she was pretty good actually. She had a confidence about her, which I really liked about her character.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Which played off quite well on the other ones, because Gibbis was that very, as he's supposed to be with that race of people. What are they? The Tivolians.
That's it. I was trying to think what they were. Yeah, because we get to see one in Series 9, don't we? Played by a different guy, different character, but same race.
Under the lake, yeah. Before the flood. So that race of people, they're very cowardly, and they don't want to. They don't like confrontations and stuff. So with characters like that, and I think it was those two really that I enjoyed the most out of the support cast.
I think Dave Williams is pretty good in it, actually. He plays that sort of cowardly vole type creature pretty well.
Yeah,
he doesn't go
bad.
over the top. No, I think he actually is pretty good in it. He adds a bit of humour into it without going too far, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I quite liked him in it. And like you said, Amira Karan, she's very good as Rita. In fact, I think all the supporting cast are pretty good in this, because some of them we don't really get to know that well. They're probably the two that we get to sort of meet more.
Yeah.
Whereas the other ones kind of get picked off and killed fairly quickly. But yeah, I do actually think all the cast in this are pretty decent. I mean, who's the lad with the glasses, the sort of geeky guy?
Howie.
Yeah. It's quite sad, isn't it, when he gets to his room and it's just him being taunted by those girls and stuff. There's a bit of a Star Trek reference, I think. But yeah, all the cast are good in this, I thought, because you do care about them, even though, because this is the thing, sometimes you don't get to know characters too well in Doctor Who and they get sort of picked off, but you think, well, I couldn't care less. I didn't know. Do you know what I mean? I didn't sort of feel anything for them. But in this, that you do, I think, even though we don't get to see them for that long, and pretty much everybody dies in this, don't they?
I believe so.
I'm just trying to think who survives.
Oh no, Gibbis survives.
Oh yeah, Gibbis survives. But of course he would.
Yeah.
Actually, that is a brilliant scene. Actually, when this is just shows how great Matt Smith was as a Doctor. I don't know if you thought this, but because Matt's quite jokey in this, isn't he? There's some great bits of humour in a lot of because it's quite a dark story. But there's a scene where he turns to Gibbis and basically confronts him about being a coward and always putting someone else to get picked off, and he really sort of turned serious. And I don't know if you thought it, but I just thought, what a great little scene, because it sort of shows Matt being the Doctor, how the Doctor always uses humour to try and take away, that they're all going to die, sort of thing. So he's, the Doctor always plays up and pretends to be this sort of idiotic fool when actually deep down he's, really scared and knows what's going on. And I just thought, the way Matt did that, the way he just turns and really turned serious on Gibbis was brilliant. A real great little scene. And I love Matt Smith's Doctor. The more I see him, I just think he was great.
Yeah, and I think, we'll come on to Matt in a little while, but I think he strikes a good balance in this episode. Yeah. Some episodes he's very, very, very clown-like and over the top and quite crazy. In other episodes, he can, maybe due to the script, I think he has to turn on like the darker side a little bit. But I think in this one there was a good mix of a couple of serious bits, especially when he's talking to Amy at the end as well.
Yeah,
and that scene you just mentioned with Gibbis as well. Those little scenes, they're quite serious and quite touching sometimes. And then literally, which Matt Smith has such a great talent of doing, literally at a snap of fingers, he's just back into very Troughton-y, clown-like nuts. So, yeah, I really like that scene as well. And Gibbis, I think, David Williams, I think he did a pretty good job. I think a lot of people were expecting him to be a bit more sort of out there and a bit more funny. But I think he toned it down pretty much to spot on, really. I think he had that because we have to remember he is meant to be quite a reclusive, cowardly, turn and run away at the first opportunity sort of character. So he's not really going to be very outspoken and, like a typical comedian playing a character. It's not meant to be that way. He's meant to be a lot more sort of reclusive and stuff. So I think he did a pretty good job, actually. He had some funny little lines as well. There was one scene that's really funny at the end when they're up in this prison, and there's like a porthole in the floor and they can see down into space, and he's like, that planet down there, that one there, that green one, I'm from there. It's just perfectly done. It's not staged too much, and it's just like a little side while the important stuff's going on.
Yeah, no, I liked his performance in this. I thought he was comedic, but not too much. I liked it a lot better than it was Paul Kaye, wasn't it? I was just looking up. Paul Kaye played Prentice, didn't he? Before the Flood, which is sort of another, supposed to be the same race. And for me, I know a lot of people liked him, but for me, I thought Paul Kaye went way over the top with his performance. I didn't like it. I thought it was just too silly. Right. Whereas I think Williams is sort of comedic in this, but I think he's sort of, like you said, he keeps it toned down enough. Probably because of the sort of I don't know, maybe because of the cast around him and just that whole atmosphere of the whole story. I think he pitches it just right. Yeah, I think he's good.
And that's that. Those two characters, like I said, Rita and Gibbis, they were like most enjoyable for me to watch, because she was very, very different. She was very much the headstrong, logical, think stuff through. So she was very good. And it was a shame to see her go as well. I really didn't want to see her succumb to that. And it was quite well written in a way that we'd already seen other people who had succumbed to the fear and that whole praise him thing, which was quite creepy in itself. Because we had that guy tied up in the room with all the dolls, didn't we?
Yeah, that's visually fantastic, wasn't it? I love that.
Yeah, this guy Joe, wasn't it? So he was tied up, wasn't he? And he was surrounded by loads of these horrible retro-looking dolls that were laughing their heads off.
Brilliant.
And so he'd succumb, and then we saw all the pictures on the wall, which I'm assuming are all the past people that have been there. So we saw we saw a Centauran, didn't we?
Yeah.
We saw some other people, a Jadoon.
A Catwoman, I seem to remember.
Yeah, one of the Catkind sisters and some other people. So we'd already been exposed to that part of the story where lots and lots of people have already succumbed to this thing. And very recent characters are there as well, with the policewoman at the beginning.
Oh, yes.
Forgot to mention her. She kind of sets the story up, yeah. So when it's Rita's turn, I thought, is the Doctor going to be able to save her? Because we've seen all these people succumb already, but, she's a very cool character. Are they going to do a bit of fan service and save her? But, but she, it was quite sad to see, actually. And it's another one of those little scenes as well. We mentioned about some of these little serious scenes.
Yeah. When
the doctors can see her on the cameras and, has phoned her up in the room. And you can tell that he's obviously affected by it. He doesn't want her to go, but she, I think she's very much like, you need to let me do this in private sort of thing. So just go and that stuff. So that was quite a good scene, I thought, as well.
It is a good scene, yeah, because he switches the TV off with the Sonic, because he's like watching it all on monitors, isn't he?
Yeah.
Which is a bit of a running theme, isn't it? We see sort of quick shots of sort of scenes as if they're filmed on a TV monitor and stuff.
Yeah.
It is a good scene. In fact, he even invites Rita on to join him in the TARDIS at one point, doesn't he? He becomes very attached to Rita very quickly.
Yes.
Which does work, surprisingly, considering how little time they spend together, but they do instantly click, don't they? Mm-hmm. And there's a good sort of good chemistry between Matt and Amara, or the Doctor, Rita, whichever you want. But it does work, because I think sometimes you sort of think, well, hang on, why has he asked her to join him on the TARDIS? He's only known her 2 minutes, but he sees something in her he likes. So it does make that scene that you're talking about even more poignant. I think that he's actually can't do anything about it. He can't save her. It's a good scene.
Yeah, it's good. Howie, the little geek,
Howie the little geek.
Yeah, he
Goes bonkers.
he does go bonkers, and that's quite a good build up as well. The way that we see him, because it's that first word, isn't it? That when they're acting completely normal, and when you first hear them say it, when they say praise him,
Yeah.
even if they're not doing it full on at that point, you can tell in their face that they're like, oh no, because it kind of slips out, and from that point on, you know it's there's danger and bad times ahead. So little Howie, I thought he was okay.
Yeah, he's fine. Yeah, it's quite. I guess, say visually when he's tied up and the Sonic's being used as a mic, and you've got that really awful music blaring out stuff. It visually is brilliant. In fact, this episode is visually brilliant. It's one thing I must say about it. It really, the whole look and style of it is great, isn't it? With all the corridors and like you said earlier about the dummies.
Yeah.
The staircase shots and the shots of like Howie just tied up next to that really archaic looking cassette player, and everything's, the detail and look of this episode's brilliant.
Yeah.
And you kind of, because we don't get to see much of the Minotaur, like that scene where Howie's tied up. We know we sort of see something coming and you get to see little bits of it. And I think the Minotaur is better when it's like that, because when we do finally get to see it, it's not. It's not that great, actually. But Howie, cool little guy. Does he goes as well, doesn't he?
Yeah, because they use him as bait almost, don't they?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Gibbous again, isn't it? They use him as bait, but Gibbous is supposed to watch him and does he set him free or something?
He does, yeah.
Yeah.
Howie convinces him to set him free, but the Doctor's using him. He's recording his voice, isn't he, and luring the Minotaur into that, which looks like a little salon or something. I'm not sure, a beauty parlor or something. But
what's the deal with the fish as well? Doctor's like, save the fish, and then Amy's like looking at the fish, and I'm like, what's going on? What's the deal with the fish?
Yeah, not sure.
Not sure.
And yeah, so the supporting cast I thought were really good, actually.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
I thought they were very good. So what do you think to the Minotaur then?
Yeah, the Minotaur, I think, because it's so bright, like the corridors and that. I mean, it's better when, like the scene when they're in that salon and it's very dark.
Yeah.
It's much, much more menacing, isn't it? Than when we actually get to see it clumping down the hallways of the hotel and that. It doesn't look that good when we get to see it sort of exposed too much. I think it's better kept in the dark and that. I suppose it doesn't look dreadful. It's not. I'm trying to think what year would this have been. It still looks decent, but yeah, it's better when it's in the shadows, I think.
Yes, yeah. It's
we sort of get a few close-ups of the eye as well, which
that was
it kind of reminded me of the Dalek eye a bit.
Oh yeah, like the blue colour and the shape of his pupil. Yeah,
yeah.
But yeah, I thought the costume and the makeup and stuff was okay. Probably, with not the biggest budget in the world, it was okay. It was a bit clunky and you could the movements between like the various muscles in the face and the mouth and stuff. They were a little bit. They weren't as smooth. They were a bit sort of. You could tell absolutely it was like an animatronic kind of movement and stuff. But it's you completely forgive that stuff.
It's not bad, is it? It's
it's okay.
It doesn't look bad. Did you feel sorry for it when it? Yeah, the voice is good. Yeah. I was gonna say, did you feel sorry for it when it died?
I did a little bit.
Did it have a bit?
I did a little bit. Yeah, I wasn't like I wasn't going to reach for the tissues, but I was a little bit because I think more so because you could tell how sad the Doctor was about it.
Yeah.
I think that added to the emotional aspect of that, especially at the end where the Doctor can tell that because I think they lean towards that this creature's been doing this for a very long time.
It's almost torture, isn't it?
Yeah, so you can tell that it's something that it's just forced into doing now. It doesn't want to do it. And I think his closing line, because that's one of the cool things about this script, actually. And I think Toby Whithouse did a really good job of having this monster not being able to talk, but the Doctor being able to translate it for us.
Yeah.
And I think And I think, yeah, that's probably what makes it more emotional for me is you can hear like the various growls and moans and stuff from the monster, which you can't emotionally link because it's not English or any type of language. But the performance that Matt gives and the way that he delivers the lines, I think make it quite emotional, especially that last one where he says death would be a gift, you know, just before the monster passes away, just before it dies. And I think that's, I think that's what makes this script pretty good, actually. I think Mr. Whithouse did a great job of those interactions between the Doctor having to translate for us what this monster's saying.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So yeah, did have a little bit of a bit of a sad thought there at the end, and
I like the fact the Doctor says he's a distant relation to a Naimon as well. I love the fact that Naimon gets name checked in this.
Oh, of course, yeah,
which is very cool.
Yep. Okay, and let's move on to our companions, Amy and Rory.
Amy and Rory, yeah.
Didn't do a great deal in this one.
They don't do a great deal, but do you know what? When they first land, because it's been a while since I've watched the 11th Doctor story, I don't know about you, but I've forgotten how much I love the three of them together. Like you said, they don't get much to do in this story, but they are just, you know, when they first get there, and there is some good humour, isn't there? Like that bit where, that you played in earlier where he says you're fired, and there's some really nice interaction between the three actors. I really do love this TARDIS team. Like I said, especially just at the beginning when they're all together and they feel like a little unit. I think that's what I like about it. When they land, they feel like they're all, just like this little closed unit. So, yeah, it is a shame they don't get a bit more to do in this. I mean, Amy gets to save the fish. What does Rory get to do? Rory well, he spots a fire exit, but doesn't that? Yeah, he doesn't get a lot to do, does he? Poor old Rory.
No, he has a couple of funny little lines, like in that clip that we played earlier, where he's like, "It's okay, we're nice," and then Amy immediately jumps on him in her brash kind of way. He puts up with a lot, Rory.
Oh, he does.
I think we said that before. He does put up with a lot, and at the end as well, which we'll come on to in a second. But I think during the bulk of the story, I think Rory's character was written as a little bit of a tag on. To be honest with you, he just follows Amy around a lot and throws in a couple of little one-liners, which is, to be honest with you, in this particular episode, in this story, it was okay for me, really, because there's quite I wouldn't say there's a lot going on visually. It's paced quite well. It's not too far. I mean, it's cut together very quickly in some places.
Yeah, but pacing it's manic cutting, isn't it? Yeah.
But pacing-wise, the story itself is pretty good. And I think if we had, because there have been some stories, haven't there, with these three where Amy and Rory tend to go off and do their own thing sometimes.
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, I think if they did that, it would kind of muddy the waters a little bit. I think this story needs to be kept fairly simple and clean. So I didn't have a problem really with Rory just not really doing much. And I think Amy's contribution was more than Rory's, especially at that scene where she starts to succumb to the fear, and when she goes into her room, she can see herself, can't she, as a little girl?
We get to see the young Amy from which again I'd completely forgotten about. And they got the same girl, haven't they, that was in the 11th Hour, which is really nice, because I think later on when in Time of the Doctor they used somebody else, didn't they? Probably because, is it Caitlin, that girl? Probably because she'd grown up. So it's really nice that we've got her and she looks the same.
Yeah.
So Amy, although she doesn't get to do much in this story, she's turns out to be quite pivotal in terms of the plot, doesn't she? Because the Doctor sort of has to destroy his faith, or her faith, I should say, in him.
In him, yeah.
Which is kind of what, in the end, defeats the creature. So she is important to the story, but she doesn't get much to do in it.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. That reminds me very much of, because you've recently watched Curse of Fenric. Did you not think when you were watching that, the Doctor sort of saying, I was always going to do this, you were always going to die, and he's sort of saying all this stuff, which is quite horrible that Amy believed. Did that make you think of the, because it did me, I was thinking, well, that's the 7th Doctor talking to Ace in Fenric, just totally destroying her confidence and faith in him. But I was thinking, I don't know that Amy would have fell for that, actually. I think Amy's quite savvy. I think even if she'd have played along, I don't think I think she would have figured out what the Doctor was doing, but
Yeah.
you know,
Now that I didn't think of that at the time, but now you say it,
yeah.
I can completely see it. Yeah, that's actually a lot of a tougher scene to watch in Fenric.
Oh, it is.
Because Ace is destroyed at that
Yes.
point. You can tell she's really. But anyway, yeah, that's you can see that. And I agree with you. I don't think that would have washed with Amy. I think she's a lot
been
more.
like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
She's a bit more mouthy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's the thing though. So just to clarify, he destroys her faith in him, and that then means that the Minotaur, isn't it?
Yes.
Has then not got that faith, because is it the faith that's keeping him going? It's like an energy thing, isn't it? That's the only bit I wasn't too.
That's right. Yeah, he feeds off people's lack of faith, and the only way to bring that out in people is to, scare them into.
But he kind of wants to be put out of his misery, doesn't he? Sort of, that's the Doctor sort of thinking, well, he wants.
Yeah.
He's had enough of this. He's been doing it for so long.
Yeah, I think it's like when you're scared so much to the point where like you start, praying and stuff and all that. Like, that's when your faith comes out, so which he feeds on. So, and it is quite good how that little scene there between the Doctor and Amy, where he's like, you're because he can't figure out why some people are going and some people aren't. And when he clicks, and then we go through a little bit more of the story, and we realise that when we see little Amy, he immediately, thinks like, right, she's that little Amy inside her is still waiting for me. It's, kind of a psychological thing, but and it's good how he breaks that barrier down. He's like, I'm not a hero and all that stuff, and I am just a madman with a box.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and that stuff. So it's cool. And like you say, she is quite pivotal at the end, and
it's a nice tight little throwback to the 11th hour when she sat waiting for him and all that time. And that, that's a nice little throwback to that. Yeah,
yeah. So overall, Amy and Rory didn't have a great deal to do. They didn't have much in the way of a script or action or anything like that. But I'm cool with that with this story.
Although I'm just thinking about the very end scene. That's, again, something I'd completely forgotten about, that the Doctor realises that he's, if they carry on travelling with him, the likelihood is he's going to lose them. And so he drops them off at home, doesn't he? And he gives Rory a car, which is really random. But I'd forgotten that they sort of got packed off at the end of this episode. And it is very much a goodbye, isn't it? Like you said, the performance from them, all three of them, is great, I think.
It is, yeah, and that's one of the that's another one of the funny lines because the Doctor's basically said, here's a house, and here's a car for Rory, and he's like, she's going to say to you that this is too much, and blah blah blah. So that's quite cool. And then we had that nice little touching scene, and I thought it would be sadder than that, because whenever there's a departure in Doctor Who, and well, for the most part anyway, it is quite emotional. But Amy seems quite okay with it. She didn't break down at all. She didn't, start bawling her eyes out. She's a little bit teary, but I think she kind of understands why he's doing it, and they have like a little chuckle as well. And I think for me, the more emotional part and the more upsetting part is watching the Doctor go back into the TARDIS with that face like, I hate goodbyes and I don't really want to do this, but it's for your own good, sort of thing. Yeah.
Oh, I agree with you. Matt's face when he just looks back at her is it's heartbreaking, isn't it? And then you get that long shot of him just stood alone at the console. Because as I said, I'd completely forgotten all of that, and I thought it was a really touching little scene. I loved it actually, because I'll be honest with you, I wasn't a fan of Rory and Amy and Rory's exit in the Angels of Manhattan. I didn't really like the way they left the show. In some ways, I actually prefer this, to be honest with you. I do, actually, yeah. So much simpler. It's just, you can see the reasons why the Doctor's doing it. Yeah, I actually thought it was a really nice little exit for him. I kind of wish that's how it ended for him, actually. Because I found the whole then getting trapped in a time that the Doctor can't revisit stuff all a bit OTT, whereas this is just a nice, simple little scene. Yeah. Yep.
I agree.
But like I say, Matt sells it. His face when he there's something about Matt, isn't there? He's a young guy with an old face, or so. I can't. there's just something about him, and he does look otherworldly in a way.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the nicest way, Matt, if you're listening.
Well, let's finish on Matt then, because his
Yeah.
performance was very, very good.
He is good.
And like I said at the beginning, Series 6 for me wasn't one of my favourites.
No.
And that's not necessarily a reflection on Matt himself. That's more of a Moffat thing. And it was very up and down, I feel, Series 6. But this particular one is a nice little on its own story. I think Matt really did, bring everything to the table, really. It wasn't one of those epic ones, like some stories like the Pandorica thing where he has like his really big speech and, those type of stories where it's not going to win an Oscar or anything. But every scene that he was in, I think he nailed it pretty much. He had this really nice mix of stupidity and funny little one-liners and stuff.
Yeah.
But it was also peppered with these really lovely little serious scenes, and especially that bit at the end as well where he's just on his own and all you can hear is the TARDIS in the background. There's no music. It is kind of heartbreaking in a way, because we all know over the years that the Doctor doesn't do well on his own.
No.
So you know that coming up, in the next stories, what was the next one?
It's
Closing
the one with
Time.
Closing Time, yeah.
And moving forward, you feel, wow, the Doctor's going to be pretty lonely and pretty, down in the dumps a little bit, having to, fly around on his own. So, and like you say, Matt sells that so well, especially that bit at the end where he's walking away and he's mature. He's a mature guy. I think he was only 20. What was he? 20.
Early 20s. He's
20,
a young
yeah.
chap. I mean, I sometimes wonder with Matt what kind of Doctor he would have made if he'd have been cast, sort of a few years later, sort of when he was in his 30s. I think he's fantastic as he is, but I can't help but sort of wonder what he would have been like with a bit more. Do you know what I mean? If he was doing it in his sort of 30s, maybe even a bit later, I think he'd be phenomenal, actually. Well, I think he is anyway. I don't know. I just sometimes wonder that, and I watch it just thinking, wouldn't it be interesting if they'd have cast him a bit later down the line? How amazing he would have been. Because I think he sometimes does look incredibly young. I mean, in Series 5, he's got such a young face. But he's still really... Yeah, he still really sells it. He still works incredibly well as the Doctor. I'm a big fan of Matt.
Yeah. Very, very good in this, I thought.
I was trying to remember how the Ponds come back into it, because I'd forgotten they left. I was thinking, so how does he end up travelling with them again then? Because it's such a final goodbye, isn't it? So when do they actually come? Because Closing Time's with Craig, isn't it? He's sort of him and Craig in that story. And then,
he goes back to Craig, yeah.
And then presumably the Ponds come into it after. I can't remember now.
I think
so long since I've watched Series 6.
Well, they're in the Wedding of River Song, aren't they?
Oh, goodness me, yeah.
Which is a couple of episodes later.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're only out of it for a little while.
Right.
But
I must admit that is one thing that does slightly annoy me about Moffat's era, is the whole fake endings and leavings. I mean, it does remind me very much of like Face the Raven and all this. You get such a brilliant goodbye, and then sort of literally like one or two episodes later, it's completely trampled all over.
Yes.
If you know what I mean. That is one thing that really annoys me. It's a bit like the deaths in the Moffat era, isn't it? How if somebody dies, they can have a brilliant death scene, but you can't ever sort of think, no, they'll probably be back next week. I think it's a bit of a flaw, really. But yeah, Wedding of River Song, they must come back into it. Yeah. There's another one I haven't watched for a long time.
Yes,
we'll do that at some point.
Well, it's Series 6. I'll be honest with you, I don't generally reach for it when I want to watch them. Even if I want to watch the Matt Smith, I don't generally reach for this one. So, but it was good to find a good little story like this.
Yeah,
in Series 6. So, scores, my good friend.
Scores.
It's I'm gonna, this week.
It's me.
First.
Yeah, I'm going to go for 7.5 out of 10. I enjoyed it a lot. I think the direction was really good in this. Who was the director? Nick Horan.
Nick Horan, yeah.
Nick Horan, not a name that rings any bells, but I think he did I think visually, don't you? It's a brilliantly done episode. I mean, some of the cutting in that is manic, and and I love the concept of it. As I said, I know I said at the beginning that it's a bit unfulfilling. There is something just missing for me in this. It doesn't, it doesn't blow me away, this story, but I do enjoy it. So yeah, so 7.5 out of 10 for me, mate. What about you?
Okay, for me, I will give it a 7.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give it a 7 because, which I think is a good score still.
Yeah.
I just think that it's one of those really good little stories. I mean, it's not one that, I'd particularly rave about. If somebody said to me, I want to get into Doctor Who and I've watched some other Doctors, I now want to watch a Matt Smith one, what would you recommend? I probably wouldn't go with this one because I think there is like a handful, at least half a dozen other very, very good Matt Smith stories. But I still really enjoyed it. And I liked the story. I liked the whole retro kind of, Kubricky or, George Orwell kind of vibe to it. That's very cool. And like you said, it's visually very good.
Yeah.
And I just think it's one of those enjoyable. It's nothing to go nuts about. I just think it's one of those really enjoyable Matt Smith stories.
And a very good concept as well. Love the idea of the rooms. Yeah, really good.
Yes, yeah, very, very good.
Sense. Yeah.
What did you guys think of it? We've got some audio clips in as well as some Twitter and Facebook. Let's hear from our good friend Joe Sweeney.
Hello, Big Blue Box. Hope you guys are well. I think it's one of the good episodes out of Series 6. I like the concept of the story that they were in a 1980s hotel, and then turned out later on it was a spaceship, and also the storyline was quite easy to follow. I do find this some of the support characters their performance is slightly a bit wooden, but David Walliams wasn't too bad in it, but his character just wasn't as funny. The Monitor was very well thought up. I think he was really good, and those laughing dolls in the room was quite a bit creepy, and also I like the speech when the Doctor was talking to Amy, saying like not having any more faith in him. And also, when he says that he isn't a hero, and he says he's just a madman in the box. And also the ending scene with him saying goodbye to Amy and Rory, well, temporarily, and then going off in the TARDIS on his own. I thought that was a really, really nice touch and a perfect way to end the episode. So I'm giving God Complex an overall score of 8 out of 10.
Cheers, Joe.
Thank you very much, Joe.
You make some good points there. 8 out of 10.
He does. Actually, just before you go on the comments, there is something I want to ask you about, because I forgot this last week as well, and I've forgotten it this week. So I did mean to say to you, what did you think of the music in this? Because in Revelation of the Daleks, I completely forgot to say this last week, I loved the music. Roger Lim's score. I thought it was brilliant. I found the music in this a bit overbearing and a bit annoying, but also quite creepy as well in times, which was good. But I forgot to ask you about the music last week, so I'm throwing it in there while I remember. Did you find Murray's score a bit weird in this?
Yeah, I think they were trying to do something slightly different than, because it doesn't sound like a normal Doctor Who episode. It is a little bit quirky, and to be honest with you, I would have liked to. This is my personal opinion. I would have liked to have a bit more of a horror themed, creepier soundtrack to this.
Yeah,
I think it was still quite. I think Murray Gold's music is very. I find it very generic at some times. I think that's what I'm trying to say. There are some episodes of Doctor Who where you have these nice little bits from Murray Gold, but the majority of the episode, and I've said this before, they could probably have purchased some stock music from somewhere, and it would have been fine, and Murray Gold's music wouldn't have been any better or worse than that. There are some episodes where his music's just mind-blowingly amazing, and wouldn't change it. But I think in this particular episode, it was just a little bit generic for me, and I would have liked it a bit scarier, a bit more intense.
Exactly how I feel. Yeah. It's just one of those things I meant to bring up with you, because that's what I felt. There were some bits where, like at the beginning, where it's really good and it's really scary. And then, there's scenes later on where it's almost comedic, and I was thinking it doesn't suit it because it's a dark story, and I don't know if they're just sort of trying to lighten the atmos a bit with it. But I was thinking, like you said, it almost sounded a bit stock music, as if it was from one of his other eps that he's thrown in there. Yeah. And, I was thinking, no, it's not, but Yeah, I just
Yeah.
wondered because I forgot about to mention the music last week, which is awesome in
This is
Revelation.
great. Yeah.
and I kicked myself when we'd finished recording. I hadn't mentioned it, and I nearly did it again this week. So sorry to interrupt the listeners' comments. Let's get back to them.
Yeah, cool. Over on Twitter, Pedro the Whovian, one of the best 11th Doctor stories with the Weeping Angels. Although, is it canon as it features the 11th Doctor? I'm not sure. He gives it 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10.
George Garrity is at G_unit 91. Says, he says, oh yes, I remember this one. In all honesty, this one I have to be in the mood for. With all the morales and themes presented, it can be hard to watch when you just want a simple adventure, yet it's saving grace when you're in the mood. The nightmare aspect is very well used, and the scene where they had to break Amy's faith was touching. Other than the issue of the effort needed to watch it, I didn't like how the Minotaur died Phantom Menace stroke Avengers style when Amy lost her faith, when he could have got more food. He gives it a 7.5 out of 10.
7.5. Yeah.
Yes.
I think it would have been better if we'd just seen the rooms moving a bit, don't you? Because that's the other thing that isn't really realised that much on screen. Do you know what I mean? They're in this hotel where all the rooms are moving, so they can't find the TARDIS and they can't do this. But you have to really if you sort of miss that line, I don't think you really pick up on that in this.
Yeah, true.
Apart from that one bit where the Doctor opens the doors and there's a wall there. That's I think that's one of the things that could have brought the score up a bit.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Let's do some audio before we get onto Facebook. This is our buddy from the Who Addicts Reviews. This is Matt Rowney.
Oh.
Hi there, Gary and Adam. I hope you two are well. Now, The God Complex is a strange one for me. It's a good story, but I think that's it. It's just a good story. Now, I hear people singing its praises, saying that it's great, it's one of the best of Series 6, it's a standout story. And I think it's a little bit overrated. I mean, I do enjoy The God Complex, but I'd choose many other stories instead of The God Complex. I mean, if you look at Series 6 Part 1, it doesn't come close to the opening two-parter. It doesn't come close to The Doctor's Wife or A Good Man Goes to War. But in Part 2 of Series 6, it stands out because all the other episodes were so poor. You know, The Wedding River Song, Closing Time, Let's Kill Hitler, Night Terrors. They were all pretty average episodes at best. So The God Complex for me, I think, gets a little bit too much praise. But it's still good. I like the setting. I think the setting of the hotel with someone's fear in every room, I think is very interesting, and that was something that kept me interested in the episode. But other than that, I can't really find too much else that I actually enjoyed. The side characters were not all that memorable. I liked David Walliams in it, but other than that, the others were pretty forgettable, and the whole Minotaur praise him story just didn't really intrigue me at all. I really wasn't invested or that bothered about this story, so for me, it's good. That's about it. I'd probably give it a 6 out of 10.
Okie dokie.
Cheers, Matt.
6 out of 10.
I got a shudder down my spine there when he mentioned Night Terrors. That is a story that
Oh, blimey.
I had put to the back of my mind.
Yes.
I'll do that one day. Whew.
Over on Facebook, Jeff Waddle is back.
Welcome back, Jeff.
After a few weeks off, he's back. He says, I absolutely love this story, but it's full of ideas that are never fully realised. The dummies laughing is as creepy as you can get on a family show. And given what we find out later, Room 11 does not contain the crack.
Does not contain the crack. What? How does he know? Jeff, I need you to elaborate because I want to know what's in that room. So it does not contain the crack.
Yes, he gives it an 8.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good score.
Lewis Palmer. I watched it on Netflix recently, and I have to say I rather enjoyed it on another watch. It is a fantastic Who-ish concept. I harbour an ungodly and unhealthy hatred for Series 6, and some of that filters through to this story, such as the fake out departure. That makes me dangerously mad. So he didn't give a score, but yes, I can't tell if you like it or not, actually, Lewis, from that. Will Lloyd says, one of the few episodes from the Moffat era I enjoy. I like the writing, direction and acting in this, and it has a strangely claustrophobic atmosphere. 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10.
George Coppen. I really like this as an episode from Series 6 that not many people talk about. I think it's a really good episode. Love the Minotaur. However, I do think Rita is a bit overrated, but overall an enjoyable episode. 7 out of 10.
Fair enough.
Sammy Satine. It's an interesting episode, faith being the thing that attracts the Minotaur to them, in which it then feeds, is an interesting idea. The rooms with your fear in them are interesting too. I don't really want to know what would be in my room.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's in the middle for me, 6 out of 10.
It's an interesting thought, isn't it? What would be in our rooms?
Yes, that's for a different podcast.
I shall be pondering that later this afternoon.
Yeah. Rightio, more audio. Alex Kingdom.
Oh, Gary and Adam from the Big Blue Box podcast. How you guys doing? Hope you guys are well. Now, the God Complex. Now, I was really hoping you'd do something in Series 6 because I'm having a Matt Smith era marathon. Now, I've gone past the God Complex. It was literally the next one I had to watch when you said, oh, we're doing the God Complex. So I was like, yes, that gives me a reason to watch it. And again, it's a really good episode. Toby Whithouse, my favourite New Who writer, does a really good job here. Great cast. David Williams, Matt Smith, Karen Gillan, Arthur Darvill, even the rest of the cast who play the woman, Howie, is his name Howie? I don't know. Oh, it's Rita, that's the woman. Yeah, I really like that, and I like the idea of there's a thing in every room, and I think that's really cool. The Minotaur, or the Minotaur, I don't know how you say it, was okay. It does his purpose, but again, I think the threat of the episode was the people's faith and their fears, which I think was really cool. Anyway, guys, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. I think it's a really strong episode, actually. See you guys all next time, and see you next week, depending on what you're reviewing. Bye.
Cheers, Alex.
Cheers, it's a 9 out of 10, eh?
9 out of 10, fan.
He loves it, yeah.
Yes.
Loves that Minotaur.
Minotaur, yeah. On Facebook, Richard Davis says, I don't like it. Matt Smith is a terrible actor and doctor.
No.
The story is bland, and the Minotaur looks really bad.
Who was that?
Richard Davis.
Richard.
Yes.
Oh. Richard.
Yes. Jamie Ackley. I gave it a rewatch last night and absolutely adored it. The ending felt that this was the way the Doctor wanted to end the Pond story, but sadly couldn't. Rita the companion that should have been, but couldn't. The 80s hotel design was spot on, even down to the look-in magazines in the hairdressing suite.
Well spotted.
The beginning, when the TARDIS crew arrived, was so joyous, I'd forgotten how much I loved that team. Matt Smith was on particularly wonderful form. Inventive and daft. Perfect Doctor qualities for me. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Excellent.
Yeah, nice one. I will just say, actually, because I think Jamie makes a really good point there, and I think I felt this way a lot about a lot of the stories that we've reviewed over the last year. And that is, my thoughts on it tend to change a lot on a rewatch.
Oh, yeah.
Especially about stories that I've not seen in a long time. Because how I felt about Doctor Who and that particular actor, or just the world in general, is probably very different to how it is now. And especially at like the God Complex, where it's been at least a couple of years since I've watched it, and I've only ever watched it once. And I remember thinking at the end of it, that was okay. It was all right, and I probably would have scored it lower had we been doing the podcast back then. So it's definitely a good. A very good point, that when you give these episodes that you weren't particularly fond of, or you wouldn't have rated them highly, and you haven't seen in ages, it's worth giving stuff a rewatch, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
and my opinions do change a lot. So yeah, nice one, Jamie. Callum MacArthur. Really like this story. Toby Whithouse is brilliant at writing. David Williams acting is great in this role, which also appeared in Before the Flood. This has to be the best supporting cast in Series 6. All of them are on top form. Matt Smith is fantastic, especially when they find Amelia in Amy's room, and he says, I'm not a hero, just pulled at the heartstrings. Weeping Angels make a small appearance, which is okay. The Doctor finds his room, but we don't get to see it until Matt Smith's final episode. The very end, when the Doctor says goodbye to Amy, is really well done, and a sad exit for Amy and Rory. I give this 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10 from Callum, okay.
Yeah. Fionn Walsh says, it was a decent story from Series 6. I can actually remember seeing this when it aired and thought it was really good and watched it again. And haven't watched it again until a while back, but he gives it 6.5.
6.5, okay.
Yeah. Last audio clip. This is Jay Kent.
Hello, Gary and Adam. How have you been? I've missed you. Oh, it's been too long. Anyway, the God Complex, I think, for what this episode is worth, is very underrated, and it's personally one of my favourite 11th Doctor stories. I mean, the idea is original and brilliant, and the characters are so diverse, it's magnificent. I mean, you've got Muslims, you've got moles, you've got... I don't know, that gambler guy is brilliant. I mean, obviously it's our first time seeing the mole people, and I love their species. I want to see more of them. I want to see where they live. They've got me so interested in their species, I just love them. The Minotaur is a great species, and I love the throwback to the Naimon, which was a brilliant tie into the classic era. And I much preferred this exit for Amy and Rory than the one we got in The Angels Take Manhattan, and if they left in this story, I think it would have been brilliant and heartfelt, and I almost cried when I first saw it. I'm going to put it out there, almost did. Judge me how you will. But yes, the God Complex, I am going to give this episode a 9 out of 10. I know, what? But no, I love it. I love it. I can't stress how much I love it. I hope you have a good rest of the show, and see you next week, hopefully, probably, maybe.
I think Jay loves it.
The ever entertaining Jay Kent.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's the cool thing about various episodes with Who, is that for some reason, regardless of what the rest of the world thinks, some episodes you just love.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah,
and I think Jay's got that about this one. You can't really put your finger on it too much, other than the obvious, but you just love it, and I think that's cool.
Yeah.
One thing I will say, Jeff, could you just jump back on Facebook after listening to this and just elaborate on what you said in your comment about that we find out later that room 11 does not contain the crack in the wall.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by that.
We're intrigued. So please tell us where you saw this or where you heard it and what actually was in room 11, because we've seen lots of stuff about it being the War Doctor and stuff, which is, I would prefer that. Makes more sense. But if you could just give us some clarification on that, Jeff, that would be awesome.
Yeah, it would, because it seems strange, doesn't it, that Moff decided to go. He'd had all that time to think about it between when this aired and when he wrote Matt's last episode.
Yeah.
And then he decides to say it was the crack, even though Matt says, who else? Because if it was the crack, he'd have said, what else, wouldn't he? He wouldn't have said, who else?
Yeah. So, Jeff, please jump back on and tell us what the crack is.
Yeah, what's the crack, Jeff?
What's the crack? Geek's handbag.
Geek's handbag. Yeah, we had a couple of comments on the Geek's handbag. We had Harry Westergaard, who says, Gary, Adam. So that's my impersonation of Harry. Been a while since I've seen it, but I remember it being a solid episode, Harry says. Thanks for jumping on, Harry. Matt Wills, he says, bit boring, really. Seemed like a filler episode more than anything else. So, not too keen. And the Daleks Empire says, I loved it. One of the highlights of Series 6, although I thought David Walliams was underused. Did not realise it was him until a question came up on the Radio Times quiz about a guest actor.
Oh, wow.
All right, yeah. I'll tell you, I was thinking it'd be fun if we'd seen David Walliams and Paul Kaye together, wouldn't it? That might have worked, but that will never happen. But there we go. So, yeah, so a couple on Geeks there. A couple of people not so impressed, but Daleks Empire loves it.
Yeah. So overall, I think this episode is viewed relatively positively. I think we've reviewed stories previous where it's been a bit more middle of the road. So I think we got some who gave it a 10 out of 10? Was it somebody gave it a 10?
Actually, it's one of the reasons I was keen to do this one, because I know a lot of people rave about it. And I wanted to go back and see what the fuss was about, because I couldn't remember much about it. I can sort of see why people really enjoy it.
Yeah. Jamie Ackley gave it a 10.
That's it.
And Callum a 9. So some really good scores. So yes, I'm glad that you suggested this one, mate, because it's been good to go back and see, especially Matt Smith as well. I've missed him.
Yeah, me too.
Yes. Next week, we are going back to the 4th Doctor. You'll be glad to hear, any Tom Baker fans.
Oh, you'll be able to wear your new scarf.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yes. And you never know. I might show you guys, or we might stick the first part of the podcast on Periscope.
Ooh.
Which will be fun, so you can watch a couple of minutes of me in the scarf doing a bit of podcasting.
Cool.
So, ads. what story are we doing next week for the fourth?
Next week, we are doing The Brain of Morbius.
Yay!
A brain in a jar. Yeah. Brain of Morbius next week.
Yeah.
Fourth Doctor.
Yeah, so I cannot wait to go back and do this one. I don't think we've done a Tom Baker one in ages.
No, it's been a while.
It feels like that anyway. The last one we did was The Deadly Assassin back in September.
Yeah.
Yes. So that'll be good. So as always, look out for the Facebook post for that, so you can give us your thoughts. You can also bung them over on Twitter as well. That's all good. But that'll go up over the weekend at some point. So we'd love to hear your thoughts on that one. And I think we are done there for 73.
Okay, let's wrap.
Thank you so much for sticking with us through episode 73. It's been wonderful talking
Number
through
73.
It's been great talking through the God Complex and other just general Who waffle and chat. So really looking forward to next week, The Brain of Morbius. Also intrigued to hear what you guys think about that as well, because I know that obviously Mr. Tom Baker is a very much loved Doctor among Who fans, especially classic peeps. So it'll be interesting to hear what you think of this one, which isn't spoken about too much when you think of Tom Baker. There's quite a few stories that will sort of rank up higher when you sort of do a very quick list in your head. There's probably quite a few Tom Baker stories that will go above this one. So interesting to hear.
It's Sisterhood of Kana in that one, aren't they? Be interesting to see them again.
Yes, indeed. They've popped up. They've muscled their way in recently again.
Yeah, they have a habit of doing that, don't they?
Yeah. So thank you very much, guys, for sending in your thoughts as usual. Sending in for next week. That'll be very good. Head over to the website, bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to all the previous podcast episodes on there, and you can also subscribe and link off to other stuff. Twitter, Facebook. We're also on Snapchat now. So if you just do a search on Snapchat for Big Blue Box Pod, you'll find us on there. And we've got some crikey little bits going on there, which will be cool.
As you can see Gary's scarf on there.
You can indeed, yes. Also check out Adam's channel, The Geek's Handbag, over on YouTube and Facebook. All the cool videos there for unboxing, reviews, anything sci-fi, Doctor Who, all that stuff. All on Adam's channel. Go check it out.
Check it out.
Immediately. Rightio, until next week. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember, Lonzy!